Hi, good evening. I'm Dion here from DQ Labs. Thank you all for joining us for this evening's presentation. The presentation on creative career opportunities. Um, I would first like to understand if all of you all can hear me. And if you can hear me, there is a small um, option where you can type in questions. Uh, Please type in a question if you can hear me, or just say yes, I can hear you. Hold on. All right, so I'm getting a few yeses. So I'm guessing all of you can hear me. Now, this is a very special presentation. Um, just hold on a second. Rohit is here as well. Rohit, I would request you to ask the counselors to call up the people who've not come in yet and request them to join in because a few more people are yet to come. All right, right. So fantastic. So thank you for your confirmation. And before we start, um, I think a few more people are coming in, and I have my teammates with me, Rohit and Neha. I'm going to make Neha a panelist as well. Hold on. Right. So let me start off with sharing my webcam. If you can hear, if you can see my webcam, please type in yes. Once again, for those who've just joined in, uh, there is a small little chat window. Yes, I can see you. All right, fantastic. Um, just so I understand the background of everybody here, uh, would you please let me know if you are a principal or a career counselor and which city are you from? If you can just type that information in, it helps me understand you better. You can possibly also type in the name of your organization or school. So it helps me understand you better and communicate accordingly. All right. We have, okay. So thank you, Ms. Sonal. Um, Thank you for that. So Ms. Sonal is from Nagpur. All right. The others, if y'all could spend a little time just giving me a brief background so that I can take it from there. All right. So while y'all do that, um, while the rest of you do that, what I will do is I will start off with a small video, okay, and I will give you a brief uh, background so that you understand what this entire design sphere is about. Okay, hold on. Okay, are you able to see my screen? I see a few people joining us, joining in. Thank you for attending. Yes, you're able to see my screen. Fantastic. All right. Um, all right. So I'm going to start off with a small little video, and this would set the base for our discussion. All right. Hold on. So, are you able to hear me while I talk, while this video is going on? Please type in yes. Fantastic. So I'm going to explain this video to you in a little more detail. Okay. So what we are seeing here is different forms of design. And this is a video created by a company called Haval, which is an automotive company. And they have predicted what life is going to be 30 years down the line in 2050. So we're seeing different forms of design over here. Now, what we're seeing here, this is an aerial pickup vehicle, something like a drone, but a much more advanced form of a drone that we're seeing. Okay. Now here we're seeing a lot of this gentleman is interacting with this car tremendously, right? So this is product design or transportation design. The architecture you see around is architecture. Now this, what you're seeing here, how he's interacting with this car is interaction design. So what she's doing is she's setting up the entire home while she's in a car itself. So the entire landscape we see around is called landscape design. It comes under a branch of architecture. So the overall experience that this family is having with their car, it's called experience design. See the signages. They're all electronic signages. The car is telling him a lot of information about him. Right. All right. Okay, hold on. All right. So, thank you all for experiencing that. So, I would just like you all to type out what is your opinion? What do you all think about that entire experience? The futuristic. What did you like about that video? If I could get one or two comments, that would be interesting. So if you can just type in what you liked about that video, would be very interesting to me to just get your opinion on that. If there's something that struck a chord with you, that made you feel that this is very interesting and this is very um, something unique, it would be a cool future. Yes, Danusha Selvaraj is saying it would be a cool future. Of course, highly techno savvy. Of course. Um, yeah, because what we are seeing is a tremendous integration between technologies, a tremendous integration between various, we see that the car is no longer a car, a home is no longer a home. It's such an integrated environment. Um, and that's really what the future is, all right? Um, what we see is that we are preparing our kids. Now, all of us here are career counselors, we are educationalists, we are principals, and we really need to prepare our kids for a future. And 30 years down the line, our kids are going to be in the peak of their career, and that's what we need to prepare them for. All right. Another thing, what you notice is that there is a lot of imagination that comes from this. Okay, imagination to visualize what's going to be in the future, to imagine that there's going to be a drone that delivers things, and that is really the critical aspect of what we are talking about today. These are careers. Um, so we are DQ Labs. We nurture talent for creative careers. All right. We've been founded by Umesh and Sean. Both are designers from IIT Delhi. Umesh is an architect and a designer, and Sean is an engineer and a designer. Umesh was first rank in university, first rank in his architecture as well as in IIT. He's worked with Jaguar Land Rover, worked with Hyundai Motors, Jaguar Land Rover in the UK as a designer. He's worked as an architect and also with Hyundai Motors in the US. And Sean has worked with General Motors across all their global design programs. The Buicks, the Chevys, the Hummers, all of those. All right. Now, moving along, a few of their projects, what they've done. Um, Now, Umesh is a TEDx speaker, and Rohit, if you could share the TEDx link with all the participants here, it's a very interesting TEDx talk that Umesh has given, um, talking about how we need to rekindle creativity in our kids. All right, and Sean is also a speaker. He's also a trainer, and he's trained thousands of teachers on the importance of creativity. Okay. Um, Unfortunately, Umesh was supposed to deliver this message today. Unfortunately, he is tied up with some parent interactions which he could not change. So I will be handling this. I'll introduce myself in a little while. Um, Now, Umesh and Sean are both the co-founders of DQ Labs and Example. And my name is Dion, and I too am a co-founder of Example. All right. An Example is an edutech platform that we have developed. We had developed it for our own students at DQ Labs, but incidentally, it's been found so useful that NASCOM, we just won the NASCOM Design for India award for this Example platform. Okay, and it's a very interesting platform, but I would not go into that too much. We are researchers. We as a team, our core interest is in research, and specifically education research, and specifically within that the learning design modules. Okay, so if something needs to be taught, we want to see how it needs to be effectively learned, right? So that is our area of expertise, and we had presented our research at a learning design conference at Singapore, and incidentally, I was the one who represented our team at this learning design conference at Singapore. All right. A little bit about me. I'm the co-founder of Example EduTech. I'm also employed with DQ Labs. I look into the outreach activities. I look into the expansion of DQ Labs, both online and physically. Um, and yes, I have previously worked with Mahindra and Mahindra, and my marriage with design was when I was with the Mahindra office in Mumbai, and the brand change, okay, where Mahindra had to transition from a old brand to a new brand. So that identity change project came to me, and I was very lucky to be involved with that. But that got me hooked onto design. All right, so that's a little bit about me. I'm going to go straight in and talk about uh, the career opportunities in design, architecture, and fashion. All right. Um, right. So when we look at design, okay, let's not look it as what is design, as a career. Let's look at the applications of design, right? So if we take an example of a mobile phone, um, what you see is a phone, but the functions that it has is well thought of. Okay, and there's an entire team of designers that works at this phone, right? So you have the phone itself, which is called product design. What you see on the phone is graphic design, and there is tremendous amount of information that's presented uh, to the user. That's information architecture. And the user, of course, interacts with the phone in many ways. That's interaction design. And overall, there is an entire experience that's created with the phone, right? That's called UX design or user experience design. Now, these are terminologies I'm using so that I've used it once in the when I played the Haval video, and I'm using it again so that you just get familiar with these terminologies, because this is what you're going to hear very often. All right. Now I can take this context of design of a mobile phone and put it into any other context. For example, an airline, right? So we have fashion design, we have product design, we have interaction design, and every airline gives you an experience, right? The experience that you get in an Indigo airline would be different from an experience of a, say, an Emirates, or different from an experience of say, a SpiceJet, right? So everything is thought of, right? So that's what experience design is. Now, I'm going to use the term design a lot through these next 45 minutes. But what I would like you to note is that when I use the term design or designer, it means an architect, a designer, or a fashion designer. All right, so all these three. Um, so we see paperboard. If you've seen this, it's the same brand, it's the same product, which is a juice, which is a new entrant into this market, okay, into the juice market. But this brand paperboard just differentiated themselves with the packaging and made themselves so distinct that this is now sold across all stores in all airlines, and they have a very interesting story to tell, and they've made a lot of money recently. Okay, companies like Nokia, which used to be brand leaders in a design sense, if they do not keep up to design, then they lose out, right? They lose their competitive edge. So what we're talking about is that companies are really that are design focused are really making a lot of money. Okay, and when I say a lot of money, I'm putting numbers to that. Okay, and we've seen this that from the early 2000s, design driven companies have been performing much better than the average company overall. All right, and we see that had someone invested into the stock market in 2003, they would have made a lot more money in a design driven company as opposed to the overall general index. All right, now let's talk about a couple more examples. So what we are doing now is we are covering the relevance of design. All right. So this is a fan, right? Could you tell me how this fan could be improved if you had to improve it? Okay, you can just type in your answers there. And don't worry if there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. You could just talk in your answers and let me know what you think. Would you prefer it if I unmute you? Let me unmute you so that y'all can talk as well. Yes, Danusha, you've got it. Okay. I'm gonna unmute all of y'all so this can be a little more interactive. Okay. So y'all can mute yourselves or unmute yourself with this. So I'm giving you that option. But Danusha's got it. But I would like to know if anybody else has any suggestions. Y'all could just unmute yourself and talk so we make this a little more interactive. Okay. So Sonal says that it can be designed to be more safe insulation. Okay. Um, so it's safe insulation meaning, uh, I guess you're worried about the safety, so make it a little more safe from what it is. Yeah, that's one of the suggestions. Of course, the common suggestions I've got is, um, you can change the colors, you can make it a little more sleek, you can make it a little more easy to operate, a little less bulky, all of these. All right. So all of these are definitely suggestions that have been coming. But Danusha's got it right over there. Okay. Just give me 1 second. So Danusha's got it right. And I'm going to go to the next slide, which is this, right? So this is called the bladeless fan. And it is invented by this designer called James Dyson. All right. Now, James Dyson was a radical thinker. What he said is, you know what, why does a fan need to be so boring? Why can't I remove the fan, the blades itself, right? Now think about it. Now, what I want you to understand is what is the psychology or the skill sets that this person has in their mind. Okay, um, right. So what we are seeing is that he questioned the ordinary, and he's come up with a beautiful design. Okay, now let's see his characteristics. Number one, he needs the um, number one, he needs Sonal, you could probably mute yourself. Yes, thank you. So, what James Dyson, what are the characteristics? Okay, he needs to be curious. He needs to be asking questions. He needs to be looking at an ordinary object and saying, "Can I make it better?" Okay, but he's not an engineer, right? So he needs to understand electricity. He needs to understand mechanics. He needs to understand probably um, aerodynamics, all of those things, right? He's not an engineer, but being the curious person he is, he needs to be able to network with people. He needs to be able to ask people, okay, can I have a fan without blades in the first place, right? So these are the characteristics that we see of designers in general. All right. Now I'm going to go to another slide. These are, of course, buildings that we see very often. I want to know one thing. How many of you are career counselors over here and how many of you are principals? If you can just type that out in the questions tab, that would be interesting for me. Okay. Sonal, I know, is a vice principal, but the others, it would be interesting to know what you are. Anyway, so going ahead, this is a regular building that we see. Now, I need to know from y'all, are y'all familiar with what this is? Can you tell me what you think this is? You could either type it out or you could unmute yourself and talk. Right. Uh, can anyone, does anyone have the slightest clue? And you could be, there's no right, there's no wrong here. So you could type out your answer, or you could interact. And it's a very important point, and that's the reason why I'm spending a little time on this. Okay, I'm not getting any suggestions. So let me tell you what suggestions I've got so far. I've got, seems like a puzzle. Okay, um, fine, not bad. Okay, um, any other suggestions? All right. So so let me put it this way. Okay, this is a sketch done. Okay, so let me tell you what it is. So the suggestions I've got is it's a dead body. It looks like a plane that's crashed. It looks like Gandhiji's chakra. So I've got tremendous. Uh, oh, there's a suggestion from Jayanti Madam. It says it's a woman sleeping with a child. Okay, so this is interesting because this is something which I've never got before, but it's interesting. But what it is a sketch done by a very famous architect, and I'll show you. This is a sketch of this building, right? This is a building called the Guggenheim Museum. It's in Bilbao, Spain. It's done by an architect called Frank Gehry. All right. So, architect Frank Gehry initially just sketched this, okay, and he had a brilliant idea. Now, what happens is we misunderstand that a child you need to have phenomenal sketching skills to be a designer. Okay, it's true and it's not true. I will tell you why. Okay, now just because um, a person can sketch well does not mean that they have the design a design sense. Just because a person sketches badly does not mean that their design sense is bad. All right. So when we talk about design, and let me take an example of the car that we saw initially or the Dyson fan, right? We look at that and we say that this is a well designed product, right? So we say it's an outcome. And design is the process to come up with a beautiful outcome, right? So when we talk about design, it's a thought process that leads to an outcome that is favorable. And that's what it is. So even though Frank Gehry has done this, the sketch may not represent what he wants, okay, but it's the quality of his idea that counts, right? And that is design. So if someone is not good at sketching, you can train them to sketch. Sketching is a skill set that you can learn. It's like learning a math formula, right? It's not necessarily that someone is born with a sketching skill. Of course, some people have a natural inclination, some people need to be trained on it. Okay. But it's very important that a designer has good sketching skills because their building should not look like it, like someone sleeping or a crashed plane, right? The sketch should represent their abstract thoughts. That's a very critical thought process. I'm going to go a little more quickly by from here. Uh, we have good design need not be expensive. So we have an example of IKEA, which has phenomenally designed furniture at very reasonable rates. All right. Now, so while we are still on the topic of the characteristics of a designer. So we spoke about brilliant imagination skills, brilliant skills to network and and talk to people and find out things, brilliant sketching skills, the importance of ideas. Okay, but here I've got another image to talk about the skills of a designer. Right now, this is architect Frank Gehry, and we see Frank Gehry interacting with Mark Zuckerberg. And Frank Gehry was the architect for the entire Facebook complex at California, the head office, right? Now, as a designer, they not only need to have brilliant ideas themselves, but they need to understand the abstract ideas that are there in somebody else's mind, in their client's mind, and make that a reality. Okay? Understand, interpret, and make sure that they are able to execute, right? To a favorable extent. So that is what these are all the skills of required by a designer and a lot more. Okay, but let's get into a little more of the work environment that designers work in. Now, designers by nature are not your standard people who will follow rules, right? They are fidgety, they're inquisitive, they are interesting, they're curious. They don't like a boring environment. Okay, they like a colorful, a vibrant space, a space where you can walk through, and that's why designers work in studios, right, and not in offices. So here we see a product design studio. So here we see a lady, a designer, designing a chair, or rather designing a chair, and you can see the prototype of this chair here, right? Here we see a transportation design studio. Okay, um, so I used to be an engineer with General Motors, and but this department is completely sealed off from the rest of the team. Okay, because designers working on the cars, they're working on cars that are coming out 3 years, 4 years down the line, right? And the engineering department, the entire engineering department follows what the design team does. Okay, so the rest of the department is not even allowed to enter the design department, but this is what it is. Okay, then you have workshops where people, designers, get their hands dirty. Prototyping is a very important part of design. Okay, this is a fashion design studio. This is an architecture studio. So prototyping, you will see, is a very important aspect at all times. Now, what are the things that designers do? All right. Now, what are the opportunities, or what areas can they work in, right? So there is design research and business strategy, right? This is very critical. Now, for example, we are in the field of learning design, right? So if you look at Umesh has worked as an architect, then as a transportation designer, and now we are designing learning methods for students. Okay, and we have a, a NASCOM award to back that up, right? So when we talk about learning, we are talking about effective learning, right? So that is design research and business strategy. Envisioning future products. So what we saw in the first video, the Haval video, there's a lot of envisioning of future things. Like, for example, the signages, road signages, right? That does not exist at this stage, but they're envisioning that it's something that could happen. Designing and creating brands for products and services. So, for example, what I did, maybe let me put you through this. Okay, so I'll take that later. Okay, uh, where we had an existing brand and we wanted to change that brand of Mahindra to a new brand, something more representative of the current environment, or a very modern look, right? So we had to design and create the brands. Of course, there are thousands of brands over there, and every brand needs a logo. And currently, our students do projects for we our students do a lot of live projects for startups. Okay, where they design brands and logos for these startups. Then communicating products and services. So graphic design. Okay, you see an ad, you see a graphic communicating messages, that is also designed. All right, let me give you another example in this context. Okay, COVID-19, social distancing, right? We need to communicate social distancing to 1 billion people. How do you communicate? The message has to be simple to understand, yet complex enough to communicate the importance of social distancing, right? So all these things are communicating products and services. Redesigning products and services could be a whole lot of things, like, for example, redesigning a chair, maybe redesigning clothes, fabrics that could, or incorporating, maybe I can redesign a pair of shoes to tell me how much I walked in the day, right? So all of that. And when we look at design, design can be applied to absolutely any industry across any field. Okay. Now let's come down to some of the pay packages. Now, all of you all are advising students, interacting with students as to, uh, y'all are really advising students and parents a lot as to how they can, uh, you know, what careers they should take in future. And the common question that they ask is this something that pays? We've had parents who said, I don't want my child to be a dreamer. But we say that being a designer is being a professional dreamer. You're getting paid to dream. All right. Um, Something a little interesting, which is some research that I have done. So what we've seen is that at NIDs, IITs, and NIFTs, the 2014-2015 placements, campus placements, ranged from a lot. We had people earning even 22 lakhs an annum. And interestingly, the immediate next year, okay, the salary jumped to 72 lakhs. This is the top salary, okay? One student got 72 lakhs, 8 students got 48 lakhs. All right. And we started seeing information that robotics, UI, UX. So I'm bringing this up again because it says here UI, UX design, user interface, and user experience design. These are the hot departments, and these are the people getting the highest hikes, right? So we went in a little deeper, and we found that that every firm, all the design schools were getting a uh, lot bigger offers. All right. Now the important thing to note here. Now this number 72 lakhs, 48 lakhs. These are ridiculous numbers. It may happen again. It may not happen again. We do not know. After 2015-16, they stopped announcing these salaries because NID does not want this to be a reason for people to join design careers. And I really don't want you to think that, okay, everybody who joins an NID gets a 72 lakhs. No, that's not true. All right. But what I want you to see is the trend, right? In 1 year, the top salary was 22 lakhs. The next year, it was 72 lakhs, right? It's jumped like crazy. And the reason for that is that companies are realizing that design is important, that design is making them money, and they need to encourage or go towards a well-designed product to make more money. And that's why you see the Tatas, the Mahindras making phenomenally designed vehicles like any other international vehicle, unlike what it was in the past, right? This is the reason. And so I did a comparison between the salaries of 2015-16, the salaries of uh, all the domestic salaries in the two top IITs, which is IIT Bombay and IIT Kharagpur, and the NIDs. And I got some alarming information. Okay, and you could verify this. So the number of students that sat for placements was so many, okay, in this year. The number of job offers that students got in IITs was just above one job offer per student. All right. However, um, however, when it came to the NIDs, it was almost two job offers per student. All right. The highest salary, domestic salary, was almost twice that of an IIT. The average salary was definitely higher, and the lowest salary was 5 lakhs, which is absolutely the rock bottom. Okay, that is the difference. And one of the reasons for this is the number of designers graduating. Okay, let's talk about architecture. There are about now the number of seats are about in the range of 20,000, 25,000 in that range. Um, but there are a lot of architects coming out every year. Still, for a population of 1 billion, we have insufficient architects. Okay, not more than 0.007% of the buildings you see in India are architect design. Okay, less than 1% is architect design. We have a whole new way to go. Okay, so the demand for architecture is high, and that's why you see a lot of architects graduate. When it comes to design and fashion, there's not more than about 7,000, 8,000 design students that graduate from good schools, all right, every year. And this is where the potential is. Okay, this is the need of the hour. And if you go on Google, of course, not in this context, but in a general context before the lockdown, there used to be, you just search for UI UX jobs in electronic city of Bangalore. It's a small part of Bangalore, and you would see over 100 to 600 jobs there for designers, right? Now, let me talk a little bit about role models. I'm just keeping a track on time. So, 4:45, yeah, about 15 minutes more. So, so I'll talk a little bit about role models. Okay, where can a student of yours be in 10 years' time, right? So, Pranav Mistry heads design for Samsung, and I would like you to watch the video of his. There's a TED talk given by Pranav Mistry. It's called Sixth sense. Okay, it's a beautiful TED talk, so please look at that. Satya Seelan heads design for Ashok Leyland, and you should see the latest designs. They're brilliant. They are, he's a colleague of Sean and Amish. Shrikant Yamala is the director of town planning in Georgia. Motherlenka, again, Umesh's classmate, does only landscape design. Okay, so you travel from the airport to the city, you'll see a beautiful landscape, and that's what is done by landscape designers. So we have that. Nidhi Parekh is one of our contemporaries. She's very young. She's just in her early 30s. And in 10 years today, she is designing India's first five-star railway station. Okay, that is absolutely state-of-the-art railway station. It's coming up in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, with the Kempinski Hotel on top. All right. It's still under construction, and that's what she's doing. Again, Priyanka Lama is one of the recent graduates of NIFT and is been identified as one of the most potential fashion designers coming up in India. Okay. Now I'm going to go through the various disciplines quickly. Um, there are different areas of design. Okay, so industrial design is anything that's physical, anything that can be manufactured, touched, and felt. So right from a cup of water to your mobile phone to a mouse to anything physical. Okay, to an airplane or a spaceship, anything. So that is industrial design. Visual communication is everything that's intangible. Okay, so for example, my presentation I'm giving to you is intangible. You cannot touch it and feel it, but you can experience it, right? IT integrated design is UI and UX design. Okay, so you're going through an Amazon shopping app. Why is it that you use Amazon and Flipkart, and why is it that you don't use maybe ATM Mall, right? Because this is so user friendly, right? You want something, it's got it. You search for something like 10 days ago, you're getting it immediately. So all these things make the user experience brilliant. Okay, so that's what IT integrated design is. Interdisciplinary is when you integrate design and management or design retail spaces. So I will come down to that in a little while. And then of course fashion design and architecture. So I'm going to take you through quickly through all of these. Um, so we have transportation design, which is of course related to transport. Um, we have product design, which is any product that can be manufactured. Glass and ceramic design, heavily used in the interior industry. Furniture design, again used in the interior industry a lot. Toy and game design, again a brilliant space to be in. So you see Fisher Price and Lego, all these are phenomenal companies that only deal with toys. Okay. When it comes to visual communication, you have animation, film design. So your kids who keep saying, I like to play video games, they do have potential. Okay. Um, provided that potential is kind of channeled to the right direction. All right. Gaming is big right now. Exhibition design, film and video communication, graphic design, all of this comes under photography design. All of these are courses that you can do, professional courses at NIDs and NIFTs. Okay. Now coming down to IT integrated design, which I showed you is UI and UX design. When we come down to interdisciplinary design, so retail experience. So this is what I did with Mahindra and Mahindra. The entire retail experience, all the Mahindras were standardized. Uh, Fortunately, I got that project when I was with the Mahindra company. So I did it for the entire automotive sector. So all their showrooms and service centers now look the same. All right. So setting those standards was one of the projects that I dealt with. Um, However, here we have, of course, an older, not so relevant article, but talks about the importance of strategic design management. Okay, now the design process is so important that companies have said we want our HR departments to do this. I want my teachers to do this. I want my sales team to do design thinking programs because it is a successful model. Okay. Um, then, of course, in fashion design, you have apparel design, you have textile design. By the way, the person who got the 72 lakh package, that's a textile designer from NID. All right, leather design, you have lifestyle and accessory design. Coming down to architecture, Zaha Hadid. Please look through Zaha Hadid's work. She is brilliant. Okay, she's one of the most contemporary architects of our times. She passed away about 3 to 4 years ago, but she is one of those brilliant designers. This is some of her work. So you have high-rise structures, you have interiors. This is again Zaha Hadid's interiors. Landscape design we spoke about earlier, right? Now I'm going to show you, or rather take you through one more video, a little more interesting video. Now this is a project which Umesh was involved with. This is the Land Rover DC10, DC100, sorry. And this is the exact process every designer goes through when they are designing anything. Okay, so they first start off with sketches, hundreds and hundreds of these sketches. I'm going to switch my camera off. Okay, so they first start off with 100 sketches. They keep throwing them away till they find something that they like. Okay, and this is a project that Umesh worked on, by the way. So this is redesigning the DC100. Once they get something that they like, then they will put it on computer, and this is all done by the design team. Okay, they put it on computer. Once they put it on computer, make the design that they like, then they give it to the engineering department, and the engineering department is supposed to make sure it works. All right. So design precedes engineering. And then they make prototyping. So prototyping also is very important. So this is the prototype scale model made 1:1 scale model. And then they make a physical model. So when I was with General Motors, I used to support the builds of all these physical prototypes, so crash testing cars, all of that. And each of these prototypes costs millions of dollars to make, or hundreds of thousands of dollars, could run into millions. And then finally, this car will get approved and it'll go into production. So that's how it goes. All right. So I hope that was interesting. Yeah. So Umesh was fortunate to be part of this um, project. Okay, I'm going to present this again. Right. So this is the DQ Labs Creative Careers booklet that I will ask the counselors to share with you. Um, right. And then there's the career path. All right. So this is important for all of you to know. Students who finish class 10, they have an important decision to make. Do they take science or commerce or arts? So if they decide to take science, then all careers are open to them, whether it's architecture, planning, fashion, or design. However, if they decide to take commerce or arts, then the option of architecture and planning is not available to them. Okay, because for architecture, you need to have a science background. Okay, so please do inform your students accordingly. Um, However, for those who are interested or inclined towards all of these exams, uh, for architecture, um, for architecture, NATA and JEE Paper 2 are two critical exams they need to prepare for. When it comes to NIDs or NIFTs, it's always in two stages. Stage one is the prelims or the written test, and stage two is the mains. Okay. In the written test, they have aptitude, they have sketching. Okay. And sketching, not to see how beautiful their sketches are, yes, to some extent, but more to see their thought process. All right. Um, when it comes to the males, they want to see their interpersonal skills, they want to see their prototyping skills, all of that. All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask these questions to me. Um, right. And if your students have missed out at an undergraduate level and you still know that they have potential for these careers, you can encourage them to join in at a postgraduate level. Okay. Now, the exams that are there are, of course, UC for IITs, NIDs for NIDs, and they have both a UG and a PG option. Um, I would not get into the details too much at this stage because it's more an awareness thing. But just so you know, there are two stages in the NID exam where stage one is the prelims, stage two is the mains, and to get final admission, the weightage for stage one is 30%, the weightage for stage two is 70%. Okay, so please ensure that your students prepare for stage one and stage two both from the start and not later. Okay, because both are important exams. Um, when it comes to architecture, most of the schools would give a weightage of 50% for their board scores. So students need to focus on their boards, physics, chemistry, math, and the other 50% is for the qualifying exam. It could be architect, it could be NATA, it could be JEE paper 2, either ways. Okay. Um, when it comes to fashion, again there is aptitude and the sketching and the situation test. Situation test is phase two of the exam, or stage two, or round two, or what they call as the situation test. In the NIFTs, only 20% weightage is given for this, but they still need to prepare for it well. Okay. Now, some of you may be aware that we do give coaching, okay, but just so you know that there is a difference. Okay, students joining for any of these programs, they have a fundamental set of things to learn. Okay, these are fundamentals: perspectives, objects and perspectives, XYZ, all these things. But when it comes to the specific exams, they always ask things. The patterns of the NID papers would be different from the pattern of the NIFT paper, and that's different from the architecture paper. Okay, so if a student is preparing for any of these programs, there's no one size fits all. They need to specifically prepare for these. All right, and that's very important to know. Similarly, for aptitude and mathematics, um, there is there are common topics, which is mental ability and analytical reasoning, but then there are also specific topics related to each field. Okay. um, I'm going to skip these slides because this talks about the way we give coaching. So, maybe let me talk about this. So, we give physical classroom sessions as well as online sessions. Okay. So, the classroom sessions happen at satellite centers all across India, and the online sessions happen from our core team in Bangalore, so that every student gets localized training and help along with an online support. Okay, and we have a fantastic team at every place where we are. Like um, in Nagpur, we have Neha Joshi, who's a designer from CPT, which is the best design school in India. In our Pune center, we have Tejas and Sharduli, both from CPT, both architects from CPT. In Bangalore, in Chennai, we have designers from IIT Delhi. We have the faculty that helps. Okay. Um, so I'm going to skip a few slides because these are not very relevant, but just so you know that to develop this thought. It's a thought that matters, and that is design thinking. The sketch is called design sketching, and this is a digital output of that design sketch. Okay, so we're not looking for phenomenal quality sketching, we are looking for functional sketching. All right, that's what we are doing. So this is some examples of what students have done and a digital output of that. All right, these are the kind of drawings that's expected. I may need another couple of minutes, but these are the drawings that are expected. You're a fish in an aquarium, what do you see? You're peeping through a hole in the restaurant, what do you see? You're a frog inside a well, what do you see outside? Some 2D sketches, so different things, book cover design, poster design, 3D composition, all of these are very important. One more thing is every one of our students gets an opportunity to do a live project, meaning there are companies that come for live projects. We offer it to all our students, and we have 80, 100 students participating in these things. Not all of them may be selected, but we've got live projects. We ask them to participate in designathons where they work with real designers and real NGOs providing solutions for them. And the idea is we don't need to do that, right? We need to just coach them, finish the exam, and that's it. But we take this extra mile to ensure that they participate in these competitions because it makes them designers. All right, it gets them start thinking about design. And then the last couple of slides, and we've got our updated results for NID PG as well as UG. Uh, just so you know, in NID PG, we've got rank 1 in 4 disciplines. That's interaction design, product design, universal design, and glass and ceramic design. Okay, so we've got tremendous ranks, and this is just from about 20 PG design students. Okay, we don't have too many PG design students. From whom we have, these are the results. These are our UG students, so about 120 students. We have 54 that have cleared round 1, which is huge. Okay, absolutely huge. The general pass percentage in an NID is in the range, people who qualify round 1 is in the range of 5 to 6%, and people who qualify round 2 would be in the range of 1 to 2%. But at DQ Labs, we have over 50% people who have cleared. Okay. Similarly, with UC, we've got tremendous ranks in UC. 104 of our students have cleared NIFT round 1, and of course, with architecture as well, we've got some phenomenal ranks. All right. So, and this just goes on and on and on. I'm not going to stress on this anymore. But is there any? I'm just going to go right to the last slide. Right. So, is there any question that y'all would like to ask us beyond this? I'm done, pretty much done with my slides. So, is there anything else that you would like us to address? Did you find this interesting? Was this? Did you get some more ideas? Did this help you? If in case you have kids in the age group of class 7 to class 12, okay, kids who are still exploring, they don't know what to do, they're not sure, maybe they're good in sketching, they like drawing, they like craft making. Okay, these are the people you need to identify, children in that range. And we have a program called the design exploration program, deep deep design exploration, and that is a beautiful program for students who think that they may be inclined to this career. It's a 1 month program, or we do it on 8 Sundays, whichever works. If it's during the year, during the summers, now we are having a 1 month program. But if you find your kids are inclined towards these careers, please direct them to this program. It's beautiful. It'll help them out. gives them a lot of thoughts. And I could ask maybe our team to send you a little more information about this. Um, every Sunday we have some industry interaction with very significant designers. Um, I'm going to probably show, yeah, we have something. So you could always reach out to us. So the previous week we had Mr. Harsh Kamble, um, who's the head designer for Java motorcycles. We had Maurizio Grioli, who came and spoke to our students about fashion design. So we talk a lot. We ensure that all our students, and this is open to anyone. So if you all want to uh, reach out to us, you all can most happily reach out, and we'd be very happy um, to give you whatever support you need. Please connect with us with any of our counselors at these locations, and that'll be great. Can I answer any final questions of yours? Thank you, Miss Sonal. Thank you so much. Appreciate your feedback. She says it's a very enriching experience. We do hope. So, our aim and objective of doing this is to enable you to understand the design sphere. I mean, we know that y'all probably guide a lot of students and y'all are instrumental in shaping them for the future. Uh, but this is an area of expertise where we could share some knowledge that we have with you, and we hope that you found this beneficial. So, would there be anything else that I could help you with? And you all could probably unmute yourselves and ask the question if you all want. Let me unmute you all. Uh, Jayanti, madam, would there be anything that you would like to ask? Thank you, Sonal.
Thank you for the information. It was really interesting and definitely enriching. I belong
Thank
to family of architects, so definitely it was like something getting into it and understanding, and I'm sure it will help whoever I
Bring
can guide. I'll surely uh, recommend them and send to Neha.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just so you know, not everything of ours is paid. If people want free stuff with us, we have a lot of free workshops going on throughout the year. So we'd be very happy, if there are kids who cannot really afford our courses, even the free stuff is very good. So please recommend that to them as well. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ajim, is there anything uh, that you'd like to add? uh, Sibin Francis. I see Sibin Francis there. Y'all could. Uh, right. So if y'all don't have anything to add, then I think thank you so much for participating. We're very happy. I'll ask the team to be in touch with you anyway, and we'll take it from there. Okay. All right. All right. Thanks so much. Goodbye.